Hi, I'm Stacie.
And I'm Kristi.
Let's just say it out loud. Most artists have a complicated relationship with money. Whether it's avoiding the spreadsheet, undercharging for your work, or getting to April and realizing you have no idea what happened in your business finances, you are not alone. Today, Stacie and I are getting into all of it. The emotional stuff, the practical stuff, and what you can actually do this week to feel a little less like you're flying blind.
All right. Let's just say it out loud.
Say it.
Creatives have a complicated relationship with money. Um, yeah.
Um, Money. What do you think is going on here? Do you think this is like a practical problem with money, or is it like an emotional problem with money?
I think it could be both, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
I
think a lot of
absolutely.
it's emotional. Um, but there's also like just that practical part, right? Like, I don't know, even in my personal life, like nobody taught me how to use this is my growing up experience. Nobody taught me how to use money, how to save money, how to invest money. I have had to figure all that out myself. And so, I think a lot of people are in that boat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think money is a very sticky subject for artists. I feel like there's a lot of yeah, inherited, to use the word inherited when it comes to money, inherited ideas about money from growing up, and things that maybe were modeled for you as a child. And I think that there's a lot of vulnerability around money as an artist, and some people have certain ideas about charging for money and how that, no, charging for your art and how that feels, not charging enough, charging too much. There's a lot of stuff around that.
Mhm.
Do you do you have any spreadsheets that you use to keep track? And do you just like not open them if you have them, or what is your feeling about spreadsheets?
Well, I mean, I confessed a lot to you around tax time, um, which was I am bad at keeping track of everything. I do this, I've done this multiple years. I start the new tax year this year. This year's going to be different. I
Mm.
like have a fresh spreadsheet, all clean, planned, categorized. I am really good in January. I am really good in February. March starts petering off. April doesn't happen, and then it's just gone. I know it's terrible. um, so I think around what I think in March of this year, I was talking to you, and I was just like, I have not kept anything documented. I mean, luckily, I at least at the very least, I have a business bank account,
Mhm.
so at least everything's in there. um, so that does make it easier. But yeah, I have aspirational spreadsheets.
Mm.
Even this new tax year, I was like, you gave me your spreadsheet, a copy of your spreadsheet, which I started filling out, and I have not filled it out for April or May.
Well, that's okay. That's not so bad. You could catch up.
That's true.
You
At
could.
this point, there's still plenty of time.
Um, I would say I'm the opposite,
Yes.
which is why I love us so much. I have a spreadsheet at the ready. I log any expense immediately as it happens, any invoice immediately as it happens. I put an alert on my calendar when the invoice is due so that if I haven't received payment, I know to follow up. I don't fuck with money. Excuse my French, but like, I'm also not ashamed to say that I want more.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I don't mean that in a greedy way. I think that there is an incredible value to the things that we as artists do. I mean,
Hmm.
also practically speaking, one arm of my business is graphic design, which is not something I'm emotionally attached to. I enjoy the work very much. I love my graphic design clients, but also like it's a skill. I went to school for it. There's software involved, there are expenses involved, there is my expertise, my knowledge, my experience. Yes, I'm going to charge you. I am not
Yeah.
a robot. I am not Canva,
Right. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um so yeah, I don't have a problem. It's very easy for me to just be like on top of it. Cuz also it's fear. I don't want to get to next April and be like I haven't done
Mm.
this. Like that is actually terrifying to me. So I just stay on it cuz I'm
Yeah.
scared. Um
Well, all of us need to be more like Stacie.
no, no,
Or me,
no.
I need to be more like Stacie.
It's just you've got to find what works for you. But I would encourage people to try to stay on top of it more than not, than get under
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so when it comes to charging, so like I said, I have a graphic design aspect to my business. There's really none of my art involved in that. It's different than a calendar price, or if I'm selling things on Etsy, or if I were to sell originals.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like, a lot of artists have some sort of guilt around charging, and I totally get that. But I'm wondering, like, where do you think that comes from? And in your experience, have you ever undercharged or not charged at all because it feels like awkward to do that?
Mhm. I think I think that guilt around charging often comes from we put ourselves in the buyer's shoes, right? And we think, would I pay that much for this thing? And I do this to myself all the time. I'm like, well, I wouldn't pay that for that. Like, but you're not your customer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, you're not,
Mm-hmm.
because you can make whatever you want. And so, and think about the things that you do buy that somebody else made the art for, and how much do you pay for those things?
Yeah.
So I think that is a thing that happens to a lot of artists when it comes to charging. I was thinking about this undercharging idea, and I thought the one like very clear story came to my mind. I have a doormat that I sell in my Etsy store, and it's one of those kinds of doormats where it's got like, California poppies all around it, and then you can customize the text on it. So it can be like, the Westbergs, my house. And I looked at, like I did all the things. I went onto Etsy to see how much other people were charging for these doormats. I'm doing this doormat print on demand, which when you see what people are charging for custom doormats, and then you look at how much it costs to do them print on demand, I think it's impossible to
Mm-hmm.
actually make money at it because, it's like on Etsy sometimes when you're selling something, it's the race to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So you're just selling something for so little money. And so out of fear and not believing in my own product, I sold this doormat for less than I should have. And that luckily this only happened once because I realized, but I sold one. I was super excited. And then after all of the, you have to pay the print on demand provider, you have to pay for taxes, you have to pay for shipping, you have to pay the Etsy fees. I actually, I didn't make any money. I lost money on this sale. It wasn't a ton of money. It was like $5 or $10. But of course, as soon as I figured that out, I was like, whoa, we can't sell any more of this. It's like,
Yeah.
because I'm not in the business of buying things for other people. It's just like, it
Yeah.
was, and it made me, I had so many feelings about it. I felt dumb because I hadn't figured that out in advance. I felt like I had no skills with money or like pricing or sales or anything. I had all of these like negative self-doubt, feelings that came out around this mistake that I made. And I think now, of course, I have a process to figure out how much I should charge for something. And when I see research like that and I realize that I can't compete in that market for that product, I either don't even make the product
Mhm.
or I like test it and I just see, I'm like, well, if somebody is willing to pay this much for it, even though they have all these other options, if that exists, then I'll see. But I'm not going to put a lot of energy and time into it. But yeah, that was definitely the thing that came out in my mind of like an undercharged situation where I just felt like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I've had I mean, for my graphic design work, I had a former colleague ask me to help them with designing a brochure. And I understood that even though it was for an art institution, that they would be paying for it themselves. And so I was like, oh, hey, there's like no way I could give her like my actual rate.
yeah.
So it was like 50% of what I would normally charge. And then it ended up that she wasn't actually the one paying for it, the institution was. And so I could have
You
charged the
could have.
full. And it was so much effing work. It was not like a 3 panel brochure that's just like one and done. It was extremely complicated. There were these folds and all this other stuff. I mean, I'm not holding on to resentment because this is like 2 or 3 years ago at this point, but still, it stings.
Hmm.
And whenever I get an estimate request from a client for a new job, I I do use the guidelines book, whatever that book is called, the Artist Guild, the guidelines for pricing,
Yeah,
and I find their estimates to be quite low for someone living in Los Angeles and
yeah.
who has been working in graphic design for over 10 years. But it does give me sort of a baseline. And I'll
Hmm.
usually draft the estimate and then sit on it for a day or two and really think about how much time it takes and is it consistent with other estimates that I've provided for this client. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Hmm.
And usually when I do estimates, I also include multiple versions, multiple rounds of revision so that if they come back and they're like, this is too much money, can you do it for this? So, like, I just did this with a client. I gave them my estimate, and there was a line item at the bottom that said, if you want this done, it's an extra X amount. They came back and they basically wanted everything, including the extra, for almost half my estimate. And I was
Oof.
like, and their email said, we're in a budget crunch. Can you do it for this? Well, I'm
Hmm.
looking around and I'm thinking, I can't afford to buy groceries right now. I'm in a budget crunch.
Yeah.
So, no, I cannot do it for that price. So, what I do is I take out some of the services and lower
Hmm.
the estimate and then still tell them I'm going to charge you my hourly rate if you go beyond this scope. And that
Hmm.
is a way to sort of make sure that I'm still protected.
Yeah.
But like you have to really think these things through because, and it's scary to like, I mean, I was like, oh God, telling my husband, like, I really need this gig. Like, I hope they agree to it because they're a good client and I want to work with them and I don't want to put them off. But also, like, it does cost money.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're thinking about pricing your art, and I know, like print on demand is great for some people because you make the art one time and then you just set it up and you sell these prints. But like how
Hmm.
much time does it take for you to make that illustration? How much time do
Hmm.
you put in the software you paid for, the iPad you paid for, the time. Maybe you've taken art classes to help you learn to do this skill. Like all of those things have to be factored into the price. So, like, if you're charging $20 for something that took you 8 hours to make, I mean, do the math. Like,
Yeah.
that's not sustainable.
No. That's really hard to
And I
see,
say this
right?
with love. I say this very lovingly. Sorry, I'm getting a little passionate about it, but I say it
No, but
very
it's true because you see somebody, it's like what I was talking about with the race to the bottom, right? You see somebody charging that price, and then the consumer, it becomes an expectation. And it's like you're feeding this beast that's like making everybody have to lower their prices.
yeah.
It's really, it's tricky, right? I mean, there's that balance between, charging too little and charging way too much, and like finding that middle ground is really hard. But I feel like it's better to like start big, right? To start with a really high price and see what happens, because you
Yeah.
kind of never know too. It's like perceived value sometimes when people see something at a high price that they just think, "Oh, yeah, it's worth it. I'm going to spend that money for it."
Yeah. Versus like they question if it's low. It's like, oh, maybe this is just like not that good if it's only
Mhm.
whatever the price is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew, it is a mind
Yeah.
fuck.
Yes.
Put it kindly. So you talked about this panic around uh, bookkeeping, tax season, and everything.
Mhm.
Um, what actually happens? Like, walk me through that for you. Like when
Oh,
it's April and you know you have the tax appointment coming up, and what is that like for you?
it's so stressful. It feels so terrible in the moment. And this year, I feel like this year was the first year that I really made enough money in sales for product to have to worry about that side. And I had never had to really deal with product sales and all
Mm.
of that before. So I was just really afraid of messing up. Like I'm afraid of messing up and then the IRS being like, um, you owe
Knocking
us
on the
money,
door.
right? Which is, yeah. Um, but so this year, what I did was I turned to AI, which I know, like my my trusty friend Claude, and we just walked through. I basically I like had a rant to Claude. I was like, "This is how I'm feeling. I have this tax appointment with my tax guy on this date. I am not prepared. Can you please write up a plan for me to work through this to meet my deadline?" And it was surprisingly helpful. So it basically was like, "It's gonna be fine," and gave me a checklist. It was like, "Okay, this week you need to do these 3 things. This
Mm,
week you need to do," and because I wasn't like doing this the night before. At least I
that's
was
good.
doing this many weeks in advance. But
I'm glad for you.
yes, but still, I did have like several nights in my apartment where I was just like figuring things out and mathing everything out, and Catherine would come home from work and be like, "Oh no, you're at the table again." Like you got your calculator out. I was just like, "I know, it's terrible." Um yeah, it doesn't feel good. It feels
No.
very, very stressful. Um and I got everything done in time, luckily, and it was fine. You know what was the most upsetting though? And this is why this year I want to be better, not wanted, want to be better, is, and I know that businesses, like, they run at a loss, especially when they're young, but I ran at a loss
Hmm.
this last year, and it made me look at all of my expenses. I think I even mentioned this to you at some point. I was like, I'm trying to cut my expenses, and I was just looking through every single thing that I was paying for and trying to figure out, is there an alternative that's free? Is there an alternative that's cheaper? And like just reevaluating everything to try to bring that number down, because the other flip side is that actually this is the year that my business has made the most money. But what's really disappointing then is that it's all that money is gone to like the cost of doing business. And
Yeah.
so if I had been checking on that more consistently, I obviously would have seen that trend much earlier and made those changes.
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I mean, this is a running joke in my house. It just happened last night. I did some math. I was feeling confident and it was totally wrong.
Oh.
Um, I mean, do you think that creatives are bad at numbers, or you think that's a story that we just tell ourselves because we just don't want to look at them? I mean, I know I'm bad at math. It just doesn't even mean numbers related to art, but I'm just generally bad at math. Even though I love math, I'm not going to say that anymore. That's an old story. An old story. But do you think that creatives are bad at numbers, or do you think it's just something else?
Well, I'll speak for myself. I think it's this.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to see it. If I don't see it, it's not there.
It's like, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
Yeah. It's literally, I mean, I actually know, like, that's why last year I was like, I'd go and I'd do a craft fair and it would do so well and I was like, "Okay, I'm really doing well." And then but I kept looking at my business bank account and being like, "But
Yeah.
it's not doing this. It's kind of going like up and then flat and up and then flat and up and then flat." And so there were signs that this was happening, but I was just like, la 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 la. I was like, if I just pretend everything's okay, it's gonna be okay. And I mean, that's not reality. So
Wishful thinking.
it's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, I am also not great at math myself, but I have
Yeah,
taught myself a lot.
I think it's obviously individual, and I do think that money is a very personal, and I don't mean to be flip or make light of it. Like, I do really think, I mean, I know I have my own issues around money, from just growing up and my experience with it. And so I do think that that is like an actual deeply rooted thing. And numbers is just like a funny way of saying numbers when we really mean money. So I do think that it is something I think that as artists we struggle with. I think a lot of it is rooted in pricing and value and how we value ourselves, how we value the work we do, how we value the service that we provide. If I could just offer one small piece of advice though, like we talk a lot about like when we're making art or when we're marketing or when we're writing our emails or we're designing our pins or we're doing these things, we talk about time blocking. I
Hmm.
would just like to offer maybe once a month, but I would suggest once a week, maybe for 1 hour or 30 minutes, you look at your numbers.
Hmm.
You look at your bank account, you check your expenses, you log into your spreadsheet or however you do it. Maybe you export something from your bank account into a spreadsheet for that month so that when it comes to February or March or even April of next year, you're not feeling this, stress. So I
Hmm.
would say like minimally once a month.
Yeah.
Maybe you put it on your calendar for like the last Friday of every month. That's the day that you review your expenses and your income and you log it in some way. And
Hmm.
I think it's uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the easier it will be. And then once you see that you're not so stressed, it will help you continue.
Hmm.
I don't know why I feel very strongly about this. I'm so afraid of it being me. I'm so afraid of being like not prepared
Hmm.
that I really don't want anyone else to feel like that too.
Yeah.
But that would be the only little piece of advice I have.
Oh, I think
Um,
it's a really good piece of advice. I mean, it's like that thing, how do you, what is that saying? Like, how do you eat an elephant? Not that anybody's eating elephants, but
yes,
like you do it one bite at a time.
one bite
And,
at a time. Let that
and so
monthly thing be that one bite.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then March won't be so awful.
Yeah. You don't have to do like for me, I like again, like if I bought some supplies at Blick, came home, immediately put it in the spreadsheet, put the receipt in the folder.
Mm-hmm.
Like because I don't want it sitting around. I don't want to forget it. Because also like log those expenses, man. They help with your tax return. So yeah, you don't have to be like that, but maybe once a month, maybe you
Mm-hmm.
put them in a folder on your
Yeah,
desk
put
and
them in a
then
folder and save them for
yeah, at
whenever.
the end of the month you do that thing. Okay, that's
Yeah.
my
So, Stacie,
mm,
you keep your numbers
I do.
very well. So, what decisions have you been able to make, or you feel like you can make a better decision because you're so good at keeping your numbers?
Um, First I would say that because I know my numbers, I know whether or not it's okay for me to invest in something, whether
Mm-hmm.
that be a course I want to take or renewing a membership. Maybe I've been a member to something for a year, but I never use the service. But
Mm-hmm.
like I still think there's value. Like, can I afford that or can I not afford it? I will also say I will say it's very important to know your numbers, but I also, for someone who's terrified of taking risks and who's definitely afraid of the IRS, I also really believe in investing in myself, even if I don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like I have faith that I believe in myself enough to know that if I do this thing, somehow it's going to work out. And
Mm-hmm.
also, life is short.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take it with you.
Yeah.
Use it.
Yeah.
um, but also, if you don't have the money, then don't put yourself in debt. Don't, I mean, I know I've heard of some people who a certain $2,000 pattern course are putting themselves in great financial strain to take it because they believe in what it's going to get them. And this is exactly what
Mm-hmm.
I just said. Like, I do believe in investing in yourself. Maybe if you don't have the funds because you're going to get something in the future, but you don't be dumb. Like, don't really
Yeah.
put yourself in financial jeopardy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But knowing your numbers gives you confidence to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes a long way. I guess
Yeah.
that's what I would say to that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. It just means that you come to those decisions with confidence, right? Rather than just kind of like relying completely on a gut feeling or like the FOMO that comes around like when there is a course launch that's happening and you really want to do it and then everybody else is doing it and suddenly you're like, "Well, they're doing it. I can
Mm-hmm.
do it too."
Mm-hmm.
But if you have that clarity,
Yeah.
then you can kind of step back and be like, "No, actually, it's not a good idea for me to do
Yeah.
it right now."
Well, and in a way, with this graphic design aspect of my business, getting this pushback on the estimate I received and having to reevaluate the quote and come in lower than I would have liked. But I am offering less services, so it's
Mhm.
fine. The number is still there. But spending the money before you actually have it can, in a weird way, also be a motivator. So, like that, I had that experience with the client where I didn't get the full amount I wanted. So, what did I do? Okay, I sent 8 pitch emails this week to try to get new graphic design clients
Mhm.
because I noticed that I've been lazy on that and I need to keep looking for other ways to bring income
Mhm.
in. So in that way, it can also be a motivator.
Yeah.
Um, Knowing your numbers, like if you're
Mhm.
like, I'm not happy with this number, well, what are you going to do about it? What do you need to do to bring
Yeah.
more money in? Do you need to add more prints to your print on demand? Do you need to develop a calendar? Like, what are the things that you can do to expand your potential income?
Yeah.
So it's not just about spending, it's also knowing your numbers so that you know that you need to bring more in.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Kristi, I mean, we've talked a lot about like the practicalities of spreadsheets and keeping track of your income and your expenses. We've talked about sort of the emotions that come with charging and feeling vulnerable and charging what you're worth and understanding your numbers just from a practical perspective so that you know what to charge, but also
Mm-hmm.
like the emotion that kind of comes with that. So, as we kind of wrap up this talk about money, what is one thing you would like to see people do this week? Not someday, but like this week around this topic.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what I'm going to do, what I would encourage everyone else to do, is to put a reminder on your calendar and you decide, are you going to do this every week or once a month? But this week, you're going to put the reminder on your calendar that is just go in, look at your bank account, look at what you spent, log everything, and then it'll be done this month. So just set aside, I'd say, I bet you could do that in 20 minutes if we're being
Mm,
honest, right?
yeah.
I imagine. Spend 20 less minutes on Instagram and
Mm,
put your numbers in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Make your favorite beverage.
Hmm.
Light a candle. Make it nice.
Yeah. Make it a
Make
money
it
date, as
nice.
they say.
A money date. Make it nice. And yeah, that would be my advice too. I already gave my advice in the middle, but yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Maybe in the comments you want to let us know what is the one thing you will do this week related to
Mhm.
money. Scary as it may be, money is knowing these numbers, knowing all of this is just information and it's only going to help you. So it's
Yeah.
not anything to be afraid of. You can't like, if you're not aware of what's going on, you can't make any changes. So just,
Hmm.
this is all just you're gaining information for yourself, you're gaining awareness so that you can make good decisions moving forward.
Exactly.
So,
Knowing your numbers is your creative superpower. We're all going to keep
yes.
saying that to ourselves.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here. We have 4 more episodes in this season 2.
Mhm.
And, share the love. If you think it's going to help someone with this episode, please share. And we thank you for being here.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Art After Dark. If you connected with today's episode, we'd love for you to subscribe and share it with a friend who's on their own creative quest. And if you want to follow along with our work, you'll find all the links in the show notes. Until next time, keep creating, and we'll see you after dark.